Now, the meat and potatoes of knowing Crimson Throne has to bring it up. And the good king has officially been announced dead. Ironic considering you spent your time walking all the way back to town after a long night of beating up your good old thug friend. Now, most people would be concerned, oh no, the king died. How did it happen? Who did it? Well, we're not that excited to deal with that problem. So we kind of just moved on with whatever we were doing and pretended we didn't know what happened. And let me tell you, finding out later that it happened, you're a good friend, King Edrin. What a stupid. King Edrin died. And the assassin has been announced. Of course, they have someone to play the boats. Needless to say, we go to the lovely announcement in the morning, and the city erupts into its own level of civilization against civilization. Civil war between the good faction and bad faction, or in this case, the Queen's faction and everyone else. The city is now really running rampant with imps running around. Thankfully, our loveliness of house drakes are running around murdering them out. Wandering through after talking to the sheriff, which ironically you'd think you would have dealt with before you wandered out, the lovely Greedus decided he to wander through the city without care, only to run into the crazy prophet, screaming and raving about how he was going to die. And short story short, death. Did not pull any of that out. We went to the shop to start pawning junk off, of course, because if you're gonna rob someone, you're gonna rob them blind. In the middle of dealing with that problem, our lovely friend Amin, being chased by a mob of supporters, walks in. Of course, the paladin, doing paladin things, thought he was tough enough to take them all on. Let me tell you, he was not. Let's move you up there. Get out of my space. Out of my space. And proceeded to be chased out as we watched. And we kind of just, well, that was new. Let's move on. As we travel on through the day, ironically, once again, the paladin decided to speak his mind to a random passer-goer. Turns out to be a drunk guard, dragging him off to the bar. All while we headed off towards the Queen's announcement. Proceeding to watch him go into the bar, where the knight gets, well, I think it's technically a guard. The guard gets mad and decides a duel is on case, because the paladin did something. He made his words up at that point. Then proceeded to beat up our poor paladin, all up until his bravery just barely worked out, and he survives. It's so close. And thankfully the last minute hit put him in the just close enough to stop him. Upon our hearing of the announcement of the lovely lady here, announcing that she was the person we're going to have to chase down and go for, because she was the killer of the king, which obviously was not even the remoteliness to go and know we did it. On top of that, we were hired to help with a nobleman who's now having problems with the city buying up land. Of course, our good friend Crescendia decided that we were the most appropriate approach, and handed us money to help bribe with solving problems. And probably one of the creepiest people to deal with if you have a female character going, because Darvane was also happened to be in the room. Like, the biggest creepo of, like, creepos that exist. Oh, he kissed your hand. Oh, he offers the chair to the prettiest... Creep. I thought the Greedus was creepy, and then I met this guy, and he made me feel better about myself. Of course, as we always do, we head off for that reproach. Everyone gathered up and going. Where Unfortunately, we run into like the worst luck out of everything because of all the shit going down and breaking of stuff. As the road cracks open, imps fly by and attack us, and our good friend the Utugu shows up, ripping his way out of the land. And let me tell you, it was not pretty to see, and proceeded to get beat up fairly quickly. Surprisingly, we were a lot tougher than I thought we were, but sure is there. At this point, Greedus has definitely taken a shine to know there was something wrong with the king's death. And to defend himself against all the imps, like most of the nobles in the area, he invested himself into getting a nice house ring. And that thing came in handy to ward off most imp problems. Couple buffs here and there, and we go. Traveling through the city was eventful, upon which we reach towards the evening to the later evening, and we finally make our ways into the shingle to go and chase down the loveliness of the obviously framed woman. Is that like Trina something, or what is it? Trina Sabor, right. In which case, we went into a chase across the lovely house roofings. Surprisingly, as skillful as she is. Turns out flying folks are a lot better at chasing on there than walking folks. And with some nice lovely teleportation and flight, not including how luxury my magic missile spell works out in the end, we chased her down, captured her, and, well, Greedus being Greedus being the Greedus, decided that he needed to try and seduce, because he's that kind of guy. And immediately got shifted away from that problem, because, yeah, that's a problem. Thankfully, we make enough friends to go and deal with that that we can actually hide her in a reasonable spot. Spending the night in my new shack that I stole from it, the Greedus claims his own little territory, starting his lovely, as he posted on a wall, orphanarium and fishery. Or as the locals more likely notify it as, the local slave children and drug den. Sell it off to everyone else. And in which case, we traverse a bit to go for. I don't remember how we run into you anyways. Because we wander a bit, reporting in, dragging them off. I believe Draven brings her into a nice little hiding spot so as to not go it. As Aaron spends the night, as our lovely paladin spends the night just hanging out with his new guard friend, drinking and wallowing in the future. We ran into Thousand Bones, who at his request finds he needs help finding his lost, I think, son? Or I think he at some point died off and blah blah blah, the fun stuff. Of course, we're not exactly the most enthused asking questions. He names it, and he gives us who it is. He even gives us a name, because we're now looking for Rolf Lamb, a well-to-be necromancer who finds out sooner or later. Of course, finding the body in parts isn't like amazing or anything, but they're also like the native tribes in the area, so who would have guessed? Other than that, it was mostly uneventful for our solutions, beyond hearing of a mysterious going about. Other than that, we claim very much into the solving of problems. Of course, we just get stunts worse and worse as we let people talk who should not be talking. But other than that, we assassinate and push our way through, moving through the all-new conundrum of where's this corpse? Especially since there's a meat packing factory serving special meats. But until then, I will say bye-bye.